Let's now dive into our region table. We created this first reference here. Now let's first make sure that we only have country or region specific data in this table. For the first two columns, country ID and country, this is all right. But here, the year, the gender, and the age group, these are all columns we don't necessarily need. The same thing is true for the population, just to bring that back to your minds. Information like the year and the gender and the population will be part of our fact table or fact query. As you see, I use both terms interchangeably here. Later, well, when we create this table, and the age group will be part of our other DIM table, which will contain the information related to the age groups and age categories. Therefore, we can simply delete all these columns from our DIM region query here. And now we got two columns left, the country ID and, well, the country. The problem here is that we have duplicate values. As you can see, we obviously have multiple entries for each country due to the initial data we had. But to make sure that our DIM region table contains unique values, you remember we have this ID column here. And if you think back about the slide, I told you that we need unique IDs for each single country. How can we now create unique values? Well, by removing duplicates. To remove the duplicates, we again have plenty of options. One would be again to right-click onto the country column, for example, and now press remove duplicates. Where is it? Here is it. Alternatively, we can go to the home ribbon, remove rows, and remove the duplicates from here. Or alternatively, we can again select the entire table right here. If we use it for the entire table, we will remove duplicates from this entire table, so not column specific. If we apply the remove columns feature either with a right click onto a specific column or in the home ribbon here, then the duplicates will be removed from this specific column. In our case, this doesn't make a difference, but in case you want to make sure that you only delete the duplicates from a specific column, then don't use this table option right here, but select the corresponding column and then remove the duplicates. However, I'll go to the home ribbon and use this feature here. As I said, in our case, we could actually also use the table feature, wouldn't make a difference. However, let's now press remove duplicates. Again, I'm referring to this formula bar now. You see that we removed the columns and specifically we removed the columns from the country column. So by selecting this country column or field. If I would undo this step, let's quickly do so, and do the same thing for the table, just to demonstrate that, and press remove duplicates here, you see that the selection of the column is not displayed as the entire table is now covered, you could say. Let's also undo this, however. Let's select the country column and now go to remove rows and remove duplicates once again. This can even take up to 30 seconds. You can always see the current loading operation in the right lower part of the screen. Now it's done. As you can see, the preview was downloaded successfully. Now we should have unique values in here only. To quickly check this, we can go to the country ID column, open the filter. Now scroll down. As you can see, no NAs or any null values in here. There is one problem though, because actually I'm calling this query here DIM region, but at the moment we only have country-specific data. Well, to solve this, attached to this lecture, you can find a zip file, and in this zip file, you can find additional data. Specifically, you can find this codes country region text file here. In this file, if we open this quickly, you see we have 5 columns. We have one column with the corresponding region code, so Asia, Europe, Antarctica, and so on. We have 2 columns with country codes with 2 characters or 3 characters, and we have a country code with a number. That's the one we will need in the end. Additionally, we have the name of the corresponding country. So let's close this and let's connect Power BI Desktop to this file now. For this, we go to New Source, now select again Text CSV, and select this codes country region text file and open it. Now we see that we have a bit of a problem here. We saw in the file that we have 5 columns, but we only get 2 columns here in this navigator view. The problem is that the delimiter here is set to fixed width automatically. A fixed width would mean that we can basically draw a vertical line with equal distances, so basically right here and right there and right there and so on, and by that create the columns correctly. In our case, we have a different structure. We have gaps between our entries. Therefore, the right delimiter would be the tab if you selected limiter option, you see that tab is a default option available in Power BI Desktop. So let's use this one. Another preview looks all right. We again have the problem with the headers. I explained that already throughout the course, so we can quickly correct this. So if we now confirm this, we get a new query again, codes country region, which I will immediately drag into the other queries group here because it's not directly related to the model. Here we only want to have the dim and the fact tables. And as I said, in this query, we should first use the first row as headers in the home ribbon once again to make sure the information is displayed correctly. And now, what do we want to do? Well, the goal in the end will be that we are able to add the regions, so these regions basically here, as I said, Asia, Europe, and so on, to this dim region table. That will be the goal, but for this we need to do some additional steps. What I can tell you at the moment though is that we have this country ID column right here. And in the codes country region file, we also have a country ID column. This is this column here. What does this mean? Well, if we have a country ID here and a corresponding region right there, then these are the two columns we need to be able to later establish a connection between the country and the corresponding region. This means we only need to keep this CC and this hashtag column because the names of the countries are already in the dim region table. So we selected these two columns. Now go to remove columns and say we want to remove the other columns. This means the unselected columns like this. And now we got information regarding the countries and the regions. By the way, you can see that the ID is now displayed ahead of our CC. This just happened due to the fact that I first selected the ID column and not the region column. If I would do it the other way around, just to demonstrate that quickly, so first select CC, then this hashtag column with the country IDs, go to remove columns and now remove the other columns. You see the order is the same as before, but we can of course change it by dragging the ID to the left. We see that we have a problem here by the way, the columns are not correctly clean, so we have empty values, two empty values to be honest. I'll tackle that in a few seconds. Let me first rename our columns here, and I will give this column here the name of a region code because it contains the region codes. And this column will also be renamed, and I'll name it ID for the moment. A very important hint here, naming it like this will cause problems soon. I do this on purpose to demonstrate this, but if you want to see the correct approach from the beginning, then you should name this ID column according to this name, so country ID. These two columns should be named equally. As I said, for demonstration purposes, I'll name it incorrectly here, you could say, but this will be fixed soon. However, here we have a problem as we have some empty values. We could check this either via the filter, as you can see here are the blank values, or alternatively, we can of course go to remove rows in the home ribbon and here say we want to remove our blank rows. I'll use this option here, and after doing this seemed to have failed because as you see we still have these empty rows. Let's maybe quickly see what blank rows we have in here. Actually, this looks okay. So this seems to be a little bit of a bug we see here in Power BI Desktop. Never experienced that, to be honest. So let's undo that filter and let's alternatively, well, either use the filter right here by unselecting blank, or you can use this remove empty option also. This should work. If you try this, you see the empty rows are gone. As I explained at the beginning of this module, we have a different logic here behind the cleaning step. Removing rows, removing blank rows works differently than the filters we use. So in case this remove rows feature doesn't work, the filters always work actually. Therefore, this might be your preferred approach in this case here. So we have now a table with some country IDs and some region codes, but what's missing here is, well, we don't have any full names for our regions. I mean, we know that this is Asia, Europe, and Antarctica, and Africa, and so on, but another person might not know that. Therefore, we have to add information on our regions as a next step.